didn't take us long to leave the mountain biome, but we ended up finding a ravine. Did we want to go inside? Not really, but it did look pretty cool. Then after a bit more exploring, we ended up finding a village, and this is really good because it gave us a source of food, hay bales, and there was a whole bunch of it, enough for both me and Aweka. This also gave us access to beds, and the reason why that's important is so we could sleep off the night and increase our chances of surviving. An interesting thing about the fact that it was abandoned, there's a bunch of cobwebs and a bunch of zombie villagers that already existed. I think these are called abandoned villages. I think the first goal I wanted to tackle is finding ourselves a nice place to base, and that's probably gonna be the bamboo jungle. So after fully looting up this village, we began exploring in one direction. I also ended up crafting all of the wheat that we had into bread, that way we can actually eat it. After a bunch of exploring, we ended up in a bunch of different biomes, but the place that we finally landed at was this dark oak biome. This biome is also notorious for having mobs in it because the trees literally cover up the land, causing the mobs to be able to spawn in ourselves a jungle biome, and the one with actual bamboo in it. A lot more than I honestly expected, because I expected a jungle to not have that much. At first we were a little bit confused and ended up having to search up how to actually get ourselves the new bamboo planks. But essentially, Aweka also doubted me. But this is how it goes. You would take a bunch of bamboo and put it into a crafting table, making yourself a bamboo stem. I don't know if that's exactly what it's called, but afterwards you put that back into the crafting table and then you got yourself some bamboo planks. And it's all made out of bamboo. It's a pretty nice thing. I ended up making a door with it, and I also went mining for some stone tools for both me and Aweka. I also decided to death, and by animals I mean fish, but then also continued making the bamboo house. Aweka on the other hand decided it would be best to actually invest our bamboo in something a little bit more lucrative. Bamboo boats. Now they do look cool, but we don't need like 20 boats. I don't know what he's doing. I honestly think he's trying to mess with us. I'm not too sure, but then again, he doesn't play this very often. So a cool thing about these bamboo boats is you could actually now place chests on them, and they kind of look like a raft. We end up taking these boats and exploring a little bit, me taking the one with the chest and Aweka taking the one without the chest, and he got a little bit jealous, as you can see here. Days 5 to 15. But after a bunch of following the river down to this big ocean, we ended up finding ourselves a shipwreck. This is where we uncovered the second thing that this Minecraft 1.20 update has to offer us: templates. Now, for those that don't know, in this version of Minecraft, if you have yourself a template, you can actually trim armor. That's right, you can add a design to it and a different color to it, making over, I believe, 1,600 different customizations to it. I could be wrong on the numbers, so just don't search it up, alright, just for my sake. But after we began to start exploring again, we're honestly skipping a bunch of like the mining and stuff because we just want to see these new updates. So we end up in search for a desert because there happens to be an interesting place you can find this stuff. So as to my knowledge, at that time, I only knew we can find them in desert wells. So we began searching for a desert well. We found villages, but really didn't loot into them because we saw that there wasn't any suspicious sand in them. But eventually we ended up finding our temple that was pretty well hidden, I'm not gonna lie. We ended up going into that desert temple and we found a little bit of sand on the side. When we mined into it, lo and behold, we found ourselves the suspicious sand we were looking for all along. We found a few of them, but I genuinely think Aweka broke one of them, which is really unfortunate. We also ended up getting an emerald for ourselves, which is probably the most valuable thing I got from this thing, and Aweka ended up getting a diamond. Alright Minecraft, I see the type of bias you're working with here. I am not losing $100 to Aweka. So after spin is so much higher, and they're often like 4 or 5 veins. And that was the main strat that I was betting all my money on. Me and Aweka, we ended up finding this really big cavern, and he ends up finding a bit of an underwater area, which led to us getting a bunch of diamonds, but not enough for a full set, so we had to keep going. We ended up going into a dead end, a couple of them even, and found ourselves a Gulg area. And if you guys didn't know, this is we ended up exploring, and we found ourselves the brand new biome. And this biome is known as the cherry blossom biome. Now this biome is actually really interesting. It's pretty pink if you couldn't tell, but we ended up deciding this is the place we're going to be making the final house of this 100 days at. So I got to chopping. Days 20 to 30. After a bunch of chopping, we decided to finally start building the house. I was the builder of the group because Aweka didn't really have many building skills, but that's okay. He can just sit there and do whatever Aweka does on a day-to-day basis. I don't know. And after a whole bunch of building, this very complex house that's definitely not the shape of an L if you look at it from